Happy Thanksgiving week, class. I wanted to talk a little bit about Unit 4 and just how the rest of the semester is going to go. So I wanted to do this Zoom. I know some of you are a little bit confused with Unit 4, and so hopefully this will give you some context that you needed. The assignment here is in the introduction to Unit 4, which you'll find under the modules for Unit 4. But the assignment for all of Unit 4 is this genre shift project. So what you're going to be doing is thinking about the topic you used for your research paper in Unit 3, and now you're going to think about what audience, what real world audience needs to hear that information, and then think about how to best present your information to that audience. All right, if you didn't see the genre video, I know it was having a little problems working. So if you didn't see that video, a genre is basically I want to use the word unit, but a form of communication. So and then modality, right? Modality is a bigger word. These words are used interchangeably. Modality is things like essays, movies, pictocharts. Within that, we can break it down further into different genres. So think about movies, all right? Movies is the modality. A genre of a movie might be a romantic comedy, an action movie, I guess a straight up comedy, documentary. So within the modality of movies, there's many different genres. Sometimes, like pictocharts, that's a modality, and maybe it's also a genre because pictocharts is pretty new. We don't have it broken down into different kinds of pictocharts. So that's why those words can be used interchangeably. So for this, you're picking an audience and you're picking a genre that would appeal to that audience. In looking at some of your audience discussions, some mistakes people were making is picking an audience that might be too difficult for you as a student to reach, right? So if you were doing a medical topic, saying that you were going to do something for an audience of doctors, okay? So for that audience, you as a student, what are you going to know differently that they don't know? And so that might not be the best audience for you to choose. But for a medical topic, there might be more general audience that needs to know about that. All right? Remember that with your audience, it's not always, people are like, my audience is anyone. All right? Your audience is not anyone. Your project is going to be in English, so that rules out any other speaker of any other language in the world. All right? Often it means you're probably gearing it towards adults rather than children. You might think about the age range, maybe if this is for teens, young adults, or if it's really for older people. Some of you I know are writing for parents, so that's a good audience. Some of you are writing for college students like yourself because you found the information useful to you. You want to share it with other college students. So those are good audiences to choose. And then you want to think about what kind of genre might work best for those students and what can you accomplish in the week or so we have left of the semester. Some of you are like, documentaries are a great way to reach people. Yes, they are. We saw some great documentaries. But I don't think you can make a documentary in a week. I don't think a professional person could make a documentary in a week. So you need to think of something that's really accessible and something that you can do. Here in the genre shift assignment, I give you some options of things that I've done in my class before. All right, last semester I did with them pictocharts. We actually did presentations, and part of the presentation was to make a pictochart. Pictochart is used for creating infographics, and an infographic looks like one of these examples, right? So it's using small bits of information and usually some kind of graph to get the audience's attention and present information in a kind of succinct way. So let me see if I have it open. Here's one that I made last year for my class. And again, I was just introduced to pictochart last semester, and I found it to be a very usable application. It was very easy for me to pick it up. So we had read an article about the work-life balance in China and how it's kind of off. Not kind of off, but they work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. So that's a crazy kind of work schedule. And it has a lot of different effects on their society, as you can imagine. Okay, so you see I picked this pictographic. All the images came with the graphic. And I just did this quickly kind of as an example. So I talked about some of the problems of the 996 schedule: reduced family time, poor mental health, just poor health in general, issues with children, and suicide on the rise, right? And so they had little graphics that I could use for this and put and interchange. So it just makes it, I said maybe I'd put an actual statistic here. All right, this is the winning at tech at no cost. Obviously doesn't have to do with my issue, but I was just showing like you could put an image here that works for your presentation, and maybe even a graphic in this spot where you can find. And then I said where to learn more. Again, with this class, we watched movies. So I had watched this movie, American Factory, which was about Chinese workers coming and taking over a factory. So you can imagine if they're used to a 996 work week, they think Americans are pretty lazy about their work schedule. So it was kind of an interesting film. So that's where to learn more. I might put some of my article titles, kind of like a bibliography here. So this is just an example of what you can do with a PictoChart. PictoChart works well for a topic and an audience where you're trying to appeal maybe to teens or something. A PictoChart might then be posted on social media. Another assignment I did maybe 2 semesters ago is I had my students write letters to the editor. All right. We all learned a lot about letters to the editor doing this. Different papers have different qualifications. Some of the bigger papers like a New York Times or Washington Post say that your letter to the editor has to be replying to an article in their paper. So for that assignment, I told students just pick any article. It doesn't have to even be recent, like you would be submitting this right away. But if you wanted to respond to an article, just pick any article and write your response to that. Also, they did letters to legislators if it wasn't appropriate for newspaper. Like somebody had watched last semester a video, an article about prison guards. And so they wrote to their legislator about how they felt prison guards maybe needed more services. And so they wrote a letter to the legislator about that. Long time ago in my class, I did web pages. Others people have done it more recently, where the students create kind of a blog or web page for their topic. This is nice if you have a lot of different things you want to tell. Some of you have talked about the pathos of your issue and wanting to tell the story of somebody who was involved with that issue, like human trafficking, or was sick from a specific disease. So a web page might be good for that because you could do different entries. One could be a personal story. Maybe one could be some like background information, statistics, those kind of things. And so a web page is nice if you want to do a lot of different things. Something else that some of my students this semester suggested is an article. And again, I have done that with my classes. There was one year I was really into working with magazines and having students write for an article that would be good for a particular magazine. So if you want to write an article, that's another idea. But think about, again, where might that article appear in real life, right? So, and then look at examples of that. Some of you are doing articles that were geared towards parents, like on video game addiction, or maybe ADHD medicine, gearing that towards parents. And so think about if you're doing an article, what a magazine article or article on like a parenting website might look like. Look at examples of that, see how they cite sources because they wouldn't use MLA style. But that's another option that you can do. Again, whatever you choose, I suggest you look at some examples. You know, I wouldn't know how to write an article for a parent magazine right now, but I think I could look at articles from parent magazines and get an idea of what they do, how they do their introduction, how they cite sources, how long they are, what types of information they put in there. So make sure to look at some examples before you create your final project. That's what next week is all going to be about, is working on and creating that final project. Next week is the last week of our regular semester. And so then whatever assignment you choose, whichever genre you're doing, PictoChart, letter, article, web page, that's going to be due next week on Thursday. And then the following week is actually our final exam week. And for our final exam week, again, you're going to be doing kind of a reflection like we did with Unit 3, but might be a little bit longer, more taking the form of more of an essay. So I hope that gives you more ideas about the genre shift and how it works. Again, you're looking at who is a real world audience that needs to know about your issue and what is a real world application that might appeal to that audience. So if you have more questions with this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I know I'm Zooming with a couple people who had questions, and we're almost there, people. We just have a couple more weeks to hold on, I'm going to try to open up all the assignments for next week today, and so you'll know what's up. So have a really good Thanksgiving. I hope all of you are well. I hope you get to spend some time with some loved ones over this holiday, and I hope that everybody can remain well. All right, happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.